Yo.
All right, we got one more. We got one more.
Hey, Frank, how are you,
AI
man?
believer.
Nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you. I can't believe we've not met yet. It's weird.
I know,
Not
it's
met
crazy.
either of you yet.
It's been a minute.
I know.
Awesome thread. Where should we start? I've been listening in. I have some thoughts, but
I think just fire some of your thoughts. Raoul's cooking. Just fire some thoughts.
Look, none of us know the answer, right? So that's the most fun thing. Is like we don't know, and to debate it and think about it is fun.
Fine, I agree. So I guess first question is, how many AI coins so far have you like looked into? Like where are we at on that? Like what are the ones you've looked at the most?
So I first looked at Tau and Render and all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Then I looked at Virtual's AI 16Z Cerebro and kind of left it at that.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense because I think when you're saying that there's not any real tech and there aren't real builders, I think it's like the wrong frame because these AI agents aren't meant to compete with OpenAI. They're building on top of it. They're building on top of Anthropic. They're building on top of Llama. And by definition, if an AI is using a blockchain, that's already an innovation. It might not be the sexiest innovation on planet Earth, but look, the idea that these large language models are using the blockchain and people are interfacing with it, that's already like a frontier of innovation that I think is definitely not. It's not easy. You shouldn't label it as just pure vaporware because they're working together. They're doing stuff.
No,
that's my take.
I don't label it as vaporware. It's useful having a set of macros like trading view models you can charge for, right? It's useful, but it's not 10, 50, $100 billion of use. It is useful. And the issue is the technology itself is advancing so fast that, a year ago, I couldn't put into a chart into ChatGPT and ask it to interpret a chart pattern. Now, it's pretty fucking good at technical analysis.
Yes.
Right. So the problem is these guys are building the AI so fast that value you think you're accruing is you're not actually accruing.
But really hear me on this, Raoul. What you're describing is they work in tandem. So when OpenAI, let's use Eliza, the biggest. No, they do. They 100% do.
They're moving at step. So OpenAI goes in steps, right? And these guys are all about. If I look at most of the models, I was chatting to one of the groups 2 days ago. Not one I mentioned, another one.
Mm-hmm.
They're using a Chinese model, and it really is somewhere like ChatGPT 401, 301, or whatever it is, 401.
Two key points here. Follow me on this, right? So one, in the Web 2 world, when AI first started to get popular with ChatGPT, there was this narrative that GPT wrappers will never accrue value. So all these startups were like raising at high values because they were GPT wrappers. And there's like a popular narrative. These are all going to go to zero. But over the last 2 years, the opposite has happened. And actually, a lot of the biggest AI companies are not just the models. Like Character AI is currently valued $2-3 billion or whatever it is. It's essentially a really well-trained wrapper. Why is this important to the crypto AI stuff? This is really big because I want to make sure we're on the same page on this. Let's use Eliza as an example. By the way, one of the most popular GitHub repos in the world at this point, Eliza. It's just a few lines of code where you swap out the models. So if you want to use Llama, you just like swap out, your API key. If you want to use OpenAI, you just swap it out. And why is this important? When you say that they're not working in tandem, I really do think you're off on this because when O3 comes out, it's going to be a one-line change. And all of a sudden, all these agents are going to have a lot more power. So when Anthropic or OpenAI or Meta launches a new model, they instantly slot into these agents. And so when they're building tuning on top of it, they are working in tandem. They 100% are working in tandem.
Frank, I get that. The issue I've got is OpenAI has consistently gone and destroyed every startup doing anything by incorporating
it's an old narrative. It's not true anymore. It's not. The industry is widening deeply. They're not killing them. It's still the hottest sector.
It is the hottest sector. But everywhere I see somebody trying to innovate, it gets wrapped into the abilities of OpenAI. And so suddenly you've destroyed a bunch of businesses. And that makes it really hard. Sorry?
What about Anthropic? Because when Anthropic first came out, people thought that was going to get destroyed by OpenAI too. And now it's not only is it a viable competitor, but some of the sharpest AI developers in the world prefer using Anthropic over OpenAI.
Yeah, so there's the two key differences between Claude and ChatGPT is one is how it talks, right? It is actually freer. It is, I would say, slightly more conscious in the ability and how what it's allowed to do is quite extraordinary. And the other thing, it has been slightly better at coding. So there's a distinct advantage in the different model type. Now, some people use, for example, Chinese models because they don't have the same restrictions that Western models. You ask it about Tiananmen Square, it won't answer you. But you ask it about how to make a Molotov cocktail to bomb the streets or whatever, it'll tell you because it's a Chinese model, doesn't give a shit. So I don't know. I don't know, Frank, but the issue I've got with this is directionally, I think we all agree. AI and crypto together are, right, this is a perfect sweet spot. The question is where does the value accrue? I think it accrues to the underlying chain more than it accrues to the things because the capital cycle is so fast, the velocity is so fast that it's very hard to have a breakthrough product that doesn't get disrupted by another product. So it's hard to, your time horizon, right? You're much shorter term time horizon than me. So I can't hold this for a year and think I'm going to find a winner apart from GOAT for the reasons that we talked about, because it's actually not that.
Yeah.
And
okay.
So
I hear you, by the way. And on the value accrual side, I think this is where we do agree. I think that these coins look closer to meme coins than they do to like DeFi yield farms, which is fine.
That's okay.
But I'll give you another example, right? There's this coin called Pippin. All right, forget about the coin. I don't even hold it. I like it, whatever. The main developer for it, his name is Yohei. Yohei created Baby AGI, which is one of the first like godfather implementations of AI agent, the concept of an AI agent. And this is about 1.5, 2 years ago. And he's currently developing a framework to allow people to create more of these agents. Why are all these people creating agents? It's because there is a product market fit moment happening here in crypto where
how are these
all these open source developers are finding real traction and like real kind of market forces towards finding the most interesting use cases for these language models.
Different to the Telegram bots?
I heard you use that example. I actually don't understand it, to be honest. Like, what do you mean by that they're the same as the Telegram bots? What do you mean?
Telegram bot is it is a macro that will go and execute strategies for you to make money, right? Theoretically, and people sell those. Same as TradingView models, these Pinecone models that you can build that has trading systems.
Yeah.
Right? They're so far behind where the hedge fund industry is, but you can make money out of them, and that's okay, but most people don't. Most of the GitHub repositories for all of these things are all these kind of macro models, and that's okay. There's value to that. If it can swap my fucking Solana and do something else with it, that stops me having to do it, which is painful, and I'm a boomer, so I'm not going to do it. But that's not real AI accrual. We're not paying an agent to go and do a specific task for us. We're paying somebody, we're buying somebody's token to be able to use something. I don't think it's there yet. I think it's coming. I don't disagree.
Yeah. So I think the rabbit hole then is, it's just a more philosophical question is, are we as investors going to wait until it's there? Or are we going to start looking for the diamonds in the rough? And to your point on the agents, by the way, you asked about Telegram bots. And you mentioned earlier, like, is frontier research, is frontier research happening right now in AI crypto? And when I heard you say it on the stream, that's when I texted Thread, like, please let me get on, because I think the answer is actually yes. There's a few examples I'll give. Again, interesting ideas. There's one called YNE. Yes, no error. It's a Y Combinator guy. He was running a startup. Now he's running this. And what it does is it just looks through research papers. They're building a fine-tuned agent that looks through all these research papers and tries to find gaps to solve issues in health. And it's a pretty like interesting thing. It just got to like 90 mil, whatever it is. That's interesting. You have Pythia. They're trying to put AI into a rat's brain. He was on Thread stream the other day. And This guy's been working on it for 4 years. He's like a famous researcher. He's been working on it for 4 years, and they have a coin, and they're fully supporting and backing the coin. They're doing videos of the rat as they train it to get smarter and smarter, and they're publishing like legitimate research. And so for me, when you said that, I'm like, actually, the most interesting niche thing that's happening in the agent AI crypto space is you're starting to get a lot of community flywheel and like attention around these interesting research things that it would never catch traction like with normal people, you know, if it wasn't in this communal way that they're launching, fair launch, pump fund, all of this. So,
yeah. And listen, crypto is the ultimate form of capital formation. I get it.
Yes.
I
yes.
totally
and we're
believe
tokenizing open source repos, and we're incentivizing open
like
source development.
It's
the coolest thing ever.
It's like DeSci, really interesting. All of this is interesting. I don't disagree with any of it. I just think it's mainly still uninvestable on my time horizon. On your time horizon,
that's valid.
You're trading.
That is valid.
You're trading attention, and there's nothing wrong with that. Attention is the primary currency of the internet. You're trading attention on your time horizon. I'm not. I'm trading adoption, network adoption model. So I'm trading Metcalfe's law. You're trading attention models. They both are the same thing over time, but mine is attention over time. Yours is attention over shorter time. That's great. So for me and my investing style, can I choose out of the 50 new AI tokens every day that are coming? No. Much like I can't do it with memes. And I don't. So I pick one that I think might be interesting or whatever. You know, I've got smoking chicken fish because I like it. Whatever it may be. But in the end, I'm not in the trenches like you are. What I'm fucking good at is the long-term trend. I'm good at that. And I will, when I see that trend, that's where I make my money. I don't do it this way because I think it's too difficult for most people.
By the way, I respect you a lot for saying that. And I think if there's progress that we can make from this conversation, because I actually think you're smart. I followed you for a while, to be honest. I think you're really sharp. I think my take that I disagree with Thread on, and you guys were talking about GOAT earlier, I've been the biggest proponent. I do not think that there are solidified winners in the space yet. Like, there just isn't. You know, we're really like 3.5, 4 months into this like AI agent crypto thing or whatever. And the winners today have grown really fast. But to your point, I understand what you're saying. You want to get on the right before the curve really takes off and there's a solidified winner. So it's a clean one shot. We pick the winner. And there are certain people that feel like that's already happened with AI16Z or GOAT or whatever it is. Personally, I don't think we're there yet. But I do think, you know, throughout this year, we're going to see, you know, winners in a big way. Because
I don't think my favorite trade of all time is the second cycle.
Interesting.
Right. So like for me, I've deployed a lot of capital into Xcopy and Beeple and some NFTs because they got battle tested. These things look like they're going to accrue stupid fucking value. Solana 2022 was a big one for me. ETH 2020 was a big one for me for the same thing. It's that second cycle, battle tested. Is it real or not? Now, it's too early to do this with AI stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think GOAT has a chance because it's actually not an AI thing. It is a meme based on something extraordinary that happened. Here's one for you that I want to ask the question of. Why are we not talking about Tau and Render? Now, Barry Silbert, who knows, an old mate, he's gone all in on this stuff.
Yeah.
Barry got the Bitcoin call right back in 2010, whatever it was. Are we overthinking it, mid-curving it, when it's kind of there? Or maybe it's not? I don't know. I can't make
great question.
It sounds complicated.
Great question. And I think this is where the divide of AI last cycle to this cycle is. And I've heard the same thing said about DeSci as well. Like, DeSci this cycle looks like what AI was last cycle. But in reality, there's a divide, which is, okay, there's AI as a sector. It's a sexy word. And there is like interesting things happening there. And then there's tokenizing open source development. And AI is the vehicle because it's the most interesting open source thing in the world right now, because what is a large language model? It's an API that I plug in to a piece of software that's going to do more than what the API itself does. That's what building on top of, any of these LLMs right now looks like. So the reason why Tau, to me, is less exciting than maybe even some of the stuff coming out now, some of the bigger players now, because I think the real wave is that for the first time, we're actually finding a way to bootstrap rapidly open source development. And you think about how that what the implication is for AI. The doomsday scenario is the world where some people have this worldview. The doomsday scenario is the world where it's just open AI. They control all of AGI and like they just come and dominate the world. But for the first 2.5, 3 years of AI, like since ChatGPT came out, like the question is, how are we ever going to get open source development to like compete with the behemoths? And the reality is, it's not that they're going to compete. It's that using Llama, using these AI models, there's going to be even more excess and more surplus created by all of the different ways that people make it useful for the end user. Obvious one for crypto. This is the most obvious one probably. Griff AIN, Newer, these front end interfaces where you just type in, I want to send $5, to my friend. You just type it in and it interfaces with the blockchain and just does what you're asking. That's like how I see mainstream adoption on crypto being, one and one. And that's obviously not what Tau and the bigger kind of existing AI plays are focused on. That's what the new stuff is focused on.
Tau is more the infrastructure play, and they often don't perform as well as the applications layer. I get that. We haven't figured out the applications layer yet.
We have not figured it out, yes.
Here's something to think about as well that I put in my head. And I said, I don't know any of the answers to this. Why didn't Aave outperform ETH?
I honestly don't know. I don't know. I wasn't too deep on.
But you know what I mean? That was the big DeFi thing that broke out, right? Aave's a real thing used by almost everybody in some way, shape, or form, or Uniswap, right? Either of those two, right? They're ubiquitous, they're everywhere, and they didn't outperform the underlying blockchain. The signal in that I think people ignore. It did in short periods of time, obviously, right? DeFi summer, they crushed it, but over time they haven't.
So what would be the takeaway from that then? Just buy Solana?
But maybe the applications layer is not as valuable as the Metcalfe's law accretion of value to the base layer, right? Number of active users, total value transacted. We actually make more money out of the underlying blockchain than we do out of all of the applications because of almost perfect competition in this space. Maybe.
Yeah.
And so I've started, I keep really thinking about the signal. I don't know, Frank, you weren't listening, or maybe you were. The friend of mine who bought Bitcoin really early and has done nothing. And when I speak to him now, he's made investments in the past. He goes, I just try and look to see whether it'll outperform my Bitcoin or not. And it made me think about all of the noise, all of the kind of screaming and shouting on X is in the end, the adoption of Bitcoin keeps going up.
Yeah.
And you don't actually have to do anything. And the value accrual goes to the chain itself. Now, ETH maybe not because they overbuilt capacity, but it'll come back.
Yeah.
Solana's clear. A bunch of these. And so that's what I struggle with is, am I mid-curving the entire fucking thing? And I should just buy, which is mainly what my strategy has been, which is just buy 3 or 4. Don't fuck this up. Go to the beach, which I am actually on the beach right now, and don't do anything.
Type shit, yeah. So I think then we split off into two worldviews, right? Which is, if you believe that there isn't a winner today, I think we might be on the same page. I wonder how much capital will flow into the actual winner/winners when that becomes really clear. Some people feel like that's already happened. Again, which is a big schism, but I don't think it has. And I think when it's like obvious, like, oh, buy this, like same way that Render was. And same way, honestly, for a minute, the Tau was. But in this new era, I think the amount of capital that will flow from institutions, from people that just want exposure to this could be really, really high.
Yeah, but I think that's a 2027, 28, 29 thing. This is not this. This is the testing cycle, right?
Sam Altman said AGI this year, Raoul. Sam Altman said AGI this year.
Elon said 2026.
Yeah, but my view is, what I love about crypto is the rapid capital formation, testing of ideas, nuking it, building it, all of this stuff, right? The test the test, iterate, learn cycle is so fast in crypto. It's like nothing else in the world. Better than any product cycle in history. Have I frozen? No. Have I frozen?
No, my bad.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, so it's better.
Yeah.
The velocity of capital in this space is better than any space that have ever existed, which is fantastic. But we tend to be super early to stuff. So we get an idea, we turn it into a meme, we pump the shit out of it. It fails, but the signal is real. It's like the NFT signal, people have no comprehension how big NFTs are going to be. And not just on the art side. It's like every fucking ticket, every contract you do, everything will be an NFT. But people just can't see it yet. It's like the metaverse. Everyone got nuked on the metaverse last cycle. But the metaverse is going to be more real than most of our lives are. And so we're really early in doing this. We tend not to accrue much value early. We trade and chop and test.
Yes. You're very right about this, by the way. It's a curse of being too early. 100%. Yes.
Yeah, because
that's my most existential question is like, and to your point.
Well, it doesn't matter at your time horizon. And this is the most important thing people need to understand on X is fucking time horizons.
Yeah.
Right? Is you can be completely in agreement over where things are going, but your trading time horizon is super short generally, and mine is super long generally.
Yeah.
And once we understand that, we can.
I'm trying to get there, by the way. I'm trying to get where you're at now. Like that would be awesome. That's the goal. Do you feel like that for people that are watching this too? Curious. Do you feel like you have to start out to a degree? If your goal is to make a lot of money in crypto, do you have to start out with shorter time horizons, or do you think that's a fallacy as well?
I think it's a fallacy.
Interesting.
And this whole "don't fuck this up" thesis is this.
I like it. Yeah.
Which is, listen, generally speaking, 90% put it into the long-term tokens. If you got the timing roughly right, I mean, my asset allocation switch was Solana, like, I don't know, averaging at 20 something, 21. Okay. And then halfway through, I did SUI, which did another 6x last year, right? You don't need to do more than that. But if you have 10%...
Hyperliquid? No.
But if you got the 10%, let's say, and you did manage to knock a meme coin out of the cycle, you'll fucking do another 10x on your entire portfolio because it goes up 100x or whatever it is, right? So I think everybody should speculate in the smaller stuff, but if you just hold a core bag, you don't risk nuking yourself. Now, you could be more risky than me and say, I'm going to put 20% in memes. Prove to me that you can get a consistent return over time, or at least one big shot, then great. I can't. I tried.
Yeah.
I've never made any money in that degen bag I've ever had. Ever.
Type shit.
So it kind of feels like, Raoul, that we have similar agreement that the intersection of AI and crypto is going to be massive, but the separation is mainly time-based, where we're sort of hyper-focused on right now, today, and you're more like, I'm worried about 2 years, 5. You're talking about 2030. We're talking about like January 15th.
Generally, yes, but also my actual view is that as altcoin season kicks in over the some part of this year until the summer, they're going to come for XRP and they're going to come for Doge. And we're going to sit there and go, what the fuck just happened? Because we believe that a bunch of new entrants will suddenly discover through 17 clicks on CoinMarketCap some random AI coin that we own because our mate got us into it. It ain't never going to fucking happen. 0.0.0 chance. That's what haunts me, is that almost everything is going to underperform some very basic things. The reality is, whatever you think about XRP, there is more video content on YouTube than any other thing in the world in crypto outside of Bitcoin. So if you're a new person, you go crypto, XRP. Alexander Good talks about this. There's so much content around XRP and Cardano that it's in every AI model. It's the training data.
Yeah.
And then the only other one, if you want to get to something that it's easier to understand, it's Doge. and you might get the derivative of whiff and stuff, but nobody's this far down the rabbit hole apart from us lot.
So I think the CoinMarketCap thing is an interesting take. You could argue though that this person who's looking to interface with crypto for the first time and has never touched it has used AI before. So there's almost this like pre-existing touch
Have you
point.
actually asked people outside of, look, crypto Twitter is actually a very intelligent, really smart crowd, generally speaking. Go and speak to the ordinary guy when you're walking around LA and say, how much do you use ChatGPT? I've shown every single one of my friends how I talk to it using the advanced voice chat as a mentor and a guide. They're like, what? I'm like, let me show you how I can use the video and it can describe the scene and tell me where I am. I was in northern Zambia on the northern Luangwa River in the super remote. There was not a single person for 100 miles. I took a photo, put it into ChatGPT because we had a Starlink with us, said, where am I? It goes, you're either the northern Zambezi or North Luangwa in Zambia. I'm like, this is fucking insane.
What I will say is there isn't a kid in the world under 24 years old that has not used GPT before because of school. And that is that is true.
I'm going to say the best, if we could just tokenize character AI, I would be all in. Character AI is the TikTok of the new kids. It is the thing that every parent will say that's the most toxic thing on earth. That you have a friend that's called the bully at school who is good at sports, right? And that's a character called whatever, some anime character, 450 million conversations. It dwarfs everything else. Character AI is the greatest application layer of the entire thing so far.
If you squint your eyes a little bit, you think about what Eliza is in AI 16Z, it's kind of like, okay, if you squint your eyes, it's kind of open source character AI. What is it? It's all these open source devs making different characters. Because that's in the tech itself. Basically what people are customizing, if you're making a really low effort version of a Eliza fork, you're just customizing one page. It's called a character sheet. And that's what gives the agent all its personality. And what they've done is just made it really easy to hook that into Discord and Twitter and Telegram. So it's like it's a template almost to get it to be on all the different platforms that people are on. But coming back to your point on crypto, Raoul, like about will people buy these coins? Okay. My take is a little bit different on how people are going to onboard this cycle. I think last cycle people heard about DeFi and NFTs as these ways that people were making retarded amounts of money really, really fast. And I think this cycle, almost all of that is happening right now on Solana. So we're both on the same page, like the base. For that reason, coming on to Solana and they're buying coins using Phantom, using Moonshot, then maybe using BullX and Photon. If you look up YouTube videos of where are people like buying a lot of these spot coins, yes, I agree. XRP, Cardano, they have a wealth of content. But that long tail of people that want to get rich fast, they're going to onboard on Solana and they're going to be buying coins. And the thing with memes is, and this is maybe more of a trench view, but the meme stuff is like, I remember when TikTok, the chill guy run. You remember this? It's like, after that, people thought the TikTok meta would happen and they would come and buy everyone's existing like meme coin bags. But the kids just started making their own pump funds.
And that's what I think is going to happen to this.
Yes.
This is what I think exactly is going to happen to the
AI.
I
think it's harder to do with AI stuff. It's way harder to get the bids.
They won't buy it. They won't buy it. And we'll be stuck there going, they're going to buy A16Z. Surely they can see it. And we're going to be sitting there with a bunch of tokens not going up and XRP is going to go up 10x. And we're going to go, we mid-curved it. That is my exact point about this is why I think we're going to mid-curve it. The other thing I want to go back is about Eliza versus, what they've got is kind of off-the-rack AI chatbots. Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
What Terminal of Truth is doing and the infinite backrooms is a whole fucking different level.
Yes.
Right? These things are almost, and Andy and I have talked about this, they're probably somewhat sentient. Right? This is And you can see all of these automated chatbots. They're terrible. Now, of course, the world is going to go to non-terrible chatbots without question.
Yeah.
And is it going to be on Eliza?
Like
Who
AI
the hell knows?
XPT, I think it's pretty good. Like AI XPT is probably the biggest KOL in the entire industry at this point. It just got
But
to
it's
380,000.
It's pretty crap.
No, I disagree.
But it does
Sorry,
have the most
if I
mind
ask
share.
you, if I ask you the question, if I hit the two of you up and say, "Hey, what do you think about this?" I get a better answer. I'm sorry, but it's not any good.
I was skeptical at first, but I've watched. It's like, so they have two things that AI XPT. By the way, relative strength wise, it's like the strongest. It is the best agent. Like I think it's kind of hard. I haven't seen a good argument for anyone saying there's a better one.
It's the first agent as well, right? So it has value for being.
No, it's not.
But the first kind of known one that broke out.
It is the first. I think it is one of the first breakout ones because every normal person that joins the space, who are the first people they follow it? And that's why I love you, Raoul, because, you know, when I'm getting into crypto, I'm seeing your face. I'm seeing like the big talking heads, and because you're looking for alpha, I'm looking for things to buy. That's when people onboard into crypto, they usually follow like people that are tweeting about coins, about investing philosophy. This is the stuff they're following. And so AIXBT at this point, every new person is coming into space. I think they're just getting recommended this thing. The account growth is nuts. And they have two ways to interface with it. One is obviously the Twitter. You tag it and it gives you thoughts on a coin. And sometimes coins move ridiculously, you know, on the information that it shares. But they also have a terminal. And I've tried using the terminal and it's pretty good, man. Like, it's like talking about stuff from dev updates to white papers, putting it into like just a few words that I can't get that kind of output from GPT or Anthropic. Like, it's nuts. It's reading the blockchain. It's reading people's.
He was cooking too.
I'm just getting into it.
I know. I want to text him.
Oh yeah, my internet, dude.
Yeah,
yeah.
You're back though. You lost. You can't get those.
The point is, I think it's worth looking at. The tech, I think, is actually pretty next level for AI XPT, and that's why no one's been able to duplicate that type of output thus far. But I think it's gonna get better. You know, like, yeah.
And I'm gonna say yes. Look, it's super interesting. I follow it very closely. I don't think it's that good yet. If you gave it to Andy Early and said, "Build me a chatbot that is really smart and has a character," my guess still is he would do a better job. And that's the difference between our crypto world thinking we're the cool kids and the actual cool kids. And Andy is not at the forefront either. I but follow a bunch of other people like Pliny the Prompter and people like this who are breaking by using clever prompting, breaking out all of these models into kind of living, breathing creatures. I'm like, fuck. And then you've got Ilya leaving OpenAI from what he saw. So you've got this whole chain of shit going on, and we're at this end still. That's my argument with this is, again, I think we all share the same idea.
Yeah.
I just think there's more noise than signals still.
Fair. If I could leave you with one thing, like one frame to like look at over the next month, 2 months, is if you shift the angle to thinking about it as tokenizing and incentivizing open source development, and AI being like the clear most interesting place for experimentation happening in the world broadly right now. I think that's the most real red pill behind this shit.
I think it's the greatest use of blockchain